Hello, students. This is Dr. Henry, and I'm your instructor for OAD 211, Medical Terminology. This particular lecture video is dedicated to Chapter 2, and it's all about the human body as a whole. And the concepts and topics of Chapter 2 are designed to help you make studying the human body more manageable. Things can be learned better when you can categorize them in some way. And so this entire chapter is focused on different ways to categorize different sections of the body. All right, so anatomic reference systems is what will be used in this particular chapter. And they're talking about body planes, body directions, and body cavities, and also structural units. And a structural unit is of the human body could be a cell, it could be tissues, it could be an organ even. And so when you put all these together, you would have a reference system. So just keep that in mind. All right, so some of you may have taken anatomy and physiology in high school or some other course, and I'm not sure if you knew exactly what you were doing in that course, but here it gives us the definitions of anatomy and physiology. And so you can see anatomy is the study of structures of the body, which we just mentioned. And then physiology is the study of the functions of those structures. What do those structures actually do? All right, and so this chapter begins by using the anatomic position as a reference point for all of the other little topics that you're gonna look at, or categories that you're gonna be discussing in this particular chapter. So it's very important that you're familiar with the anatomic position. What is it? What does that mean? Well, your textbook has pictures. And graphs and images that show it. And there is some in this particular PowerPoint as well. But to understand the anatomic position, it tells you here that this is when you're in the anatomic position when your body is erect, so erect, standing up straight, facing forward, and holding arms at the sides with the palms facing forward. Very important. You're not in the anatomic position if your palms are not facing forward. And so they do have a picture of this in this particular PowerPoint. And so notice the person is standing erect. Okay, that was one of the things, to be in the anatomic position, facing forward. And then the palms of their hands also have to be facing forward. So it's very important that as you study this chapter and all of the chapters, make use of all of the supplemental materials, pictures, graphs, videos, the pronunciation icons to help you as you go along. Okay, so using the anatomic position as the reference point, then it's going to start to divide the body into all the little things that it talked about earlier when it talked about body planes, body directions, body cavities, and structural units. So the anatomic position is the reference point, and you should use that as the guide as you go forward for each of these categories. Now, I don't think this video is the best use of time for me to just kind of read all of the terms to you, because I know many students, if you're like me, you need time to digest the term. So when you read it the first time, you read the word, you look at the spelling, you look at the definition, you might write notes to yourself. Some people like, to do handwritten notes. Some people might record notes. You might use the ebook to highlight pages inside of the ebook. So I don't want to use these videos to read each term to you, but I do want to use them to give you tips about what to focus on. What is this chapter going to be talking about? What should you get out of this chapter? And so here you're pretty much dividing the body into sections for study purposes and to know where things are. So just to begin with the planes, that's the first thing that it covers. So using this as an example, you have 3 planes listed here. And so these are imaginary lines on the body, and they're going to divide the body vertically and horizontally. So hopefully vertical is from top to bottom, or you may say north to south, and then horizontal is left to right, or you may say west to east or east to west. So these are things that you're going to need to know, memorize as you go, because these sections, this is one of the things covered in this chapter about how you can divide the body up into these planes. And so it has the mid-sagittal plane, which divides the body into left and right. And I can go to that picture. If you, these are imaginary lines. If you would split the body straight down the middle and you have a left side and a right side, it would be the mid-sagittal plane. The transverse plane divides the body into upper and lower halves, top and bottom. You have the frontal plane, which is the front and back, but they may also be called here anterior and posterior, or ventral and dorsal. And so here I'll use these two or these four terms as an example. When you're studying these medical terms, it's very important for you to kind of pinpoint the subtle differences in these particular terms, because you could say anterior and ventral are both the front of something, but they do have subtle differences. And so and posterior and dorsal would be the converse of those two. So anterior and posterior, and ventral and dorsal are the opposites or of each other. And so I'm not sure. Okay, so here we have, yeah, anterior, posterior, and ventral and dorsal. Okay, so it says ventral refers to the front of the organ or body. And then I'm gonna flip over to anterior, and it says situated in the front. So something can be anterior. So let's say your knee or something like that, your kneecap, for example. So anterior would be something that's situated in front of your knee, and ventral would be the front of the knee itself. So you could see how, you know, these little play on words, you want to make sure that you understand these subtle distinctions because they are very important in our medical terminology course. And so ventral and dorsal are the same. I wanted to just use these four terms as an example to highlight the subtleties that you will see in some of these position terms. So dorsal refers to the back of the organ. So remember, the back of the organ itself, so the back of the kidney, the back of the lungs, versus posterior, which says something is situated in the back. So it could be in the back of the knee or the back of the kidney, etc. So keep these kinds of things in mind as you study these terms. And you'll have that going forward the rest of the way. You're gonna have these body direction terms, body plane terms, body cavity terms. What I want to do with these lecture videos is kind of get your mind ready for what it is you're about to study in this particular chapter, because you do have to take time to kind of dig into it. And so you'll need more time to go back, look at the words, look at the definitions, use the diagrams that they have, so it'll help you understand, okay, well, if this is my knee, then the anterior or front of the knee, that's something that's in front of the knee, whereas ventral would be the front of the knee itself. So use the diagrams to help you as you go. If you have questions or concerns that I can assist you with as well, please reach out to me via email. So here, this was a little quick introduction to Chapter 2 and to what you should focus your study on as you go through this chapter. Thanks for listening. Bye.